Chapter 20. My fifth kiss. Mom to the rescue again. Midwinter insomnia. Conservatory flowers. Ting is such sweet sorrow. I dreamed about kissing Parr. Asleep in my bed, awake in my bed, in that limbo between waking and sleeping that's known as 10th grade European history, I dreamed about it. But I never dreamed that our first kiss would take place on stage in front of the entire production of Midwinter Insomnia, including my mother. Although this was the dress rehearsal, there was clearly no way to make the twins' Tanya costume fit me. The clothes I had put on that morning, jeans and a sweater over a long-sleeved scoop-neck t-shirt, would have to do. I stood in Tanya's position, twirling my thumb ring on my upstage hand and looking out over a sea of furrowed brows. Concern shone from every eye in the audience, which included everyone in the production not actually on stage. I watched them worry. Would I remember my lines? Would my voice carry? Would I ruin the production they all had worked so hard on? Gratifyingly, though, after a few minutes the brows began to clear. I was indeed going to remember the lines, my watchers decided one by one. My acting might not be as nuanced as the twins, my singing voice nowhere near as strong, but at least I wasn't going to totally flub it. My mother smiled encouragement at me. Part of me began to relax. At the same time, though, the rest of me, the better part, began to clench up. For as I stormed at Parr, ordered Alcott fish around, fell under the spell of the tainted drinking fountain, and fawned over Kevin Rodriguez in his butthead costume, I knew that the moment I had so often dreamed of was about to arrive, in the most humiliating form imaginable. I would be kissing Parr. Parr, who had been avoiding talking to me, even looking at me, and I'd be doing it in front of an audience. My throat went dry. My voice dropped to a whisper, and Benjo had to say, "Speak up, Julie. Let's take it again from, do you admit you were a jerk?" Then there was no postponing it. As Owen, Parr admitted the error of his ways. As Tanya, I forgave him. He drew me close and kissed me. Was it like kissing Zack? Only the way the merry-go-round is like the cyclone at Astroland. Only the way sliding down the hill behind the elementary school on your mother's roasting pan is like skiing down Mont Blanc. I was glad I had kissed Zack. Because of that experience, I didn't flub the kiss on stage any more than I flubbed my lines. I met Parr's lips head-on, without slipping or crashing, and the outside world went dim. When it was over, rather quickly, I think, because I didn't hear any hooting from the audience, and they must have hooted if the kiss had really lasted as long as it seemed to me, I looked up at Parr. His eyes were opaque, abandoned. He looked as overthrown as I felt. Upstage, out of sight of the crowd, he crushed my left hand in his right. I heard a crack and felt my onyx ring snap in two and fall from my thumb. We stood that way for only an instant. Then Alcott Fish entered downstage right. Parr spoke his next line, and the rehearsal swept on to its finale. I spoke and sang mechanically, weak as a kitten. Afterward, the entire cast and crew gathered around to congratulate me. I was their heroine. I had saved the day and could now be counted on to save tomorrow, too. I looked around for Parr, but it was too public to ask him anything or tell him anything. "Come on, girls, get your coats," said Mom. "We'd better get going if I'm going to have time to tackle Marie Gerard before bedtime." And that was it. Parr and I parted without a word or a touch. Until tomorrow, that is, and tomorrow's kiss. But it didn't work out that way. Mom's mission was successful. Mrs. Gerard agreed to extend the twins' sentence a week in exchange for their limited release over the next 2 days. "How did you do it?" I asked. I explained the situation. "Marie's a reasonable person," she said. I gave her a doubtful look. Reasonable or not, Mrs. Gerard had never before reversed a punishment, to my knowledge anyway. "Oh, all right." I threw myself on her charity. I told her that I was on trial for a job at the school, and that if I managed to get the girls back in the play, it would impress the dean and maybe land me the job. "Very clever, Mom. That's worthy of Samantha Lou." "Yes, and it has the advantage of being true." With no clear prospect of another kiss from Parr, then, I dwelled on today's. What did it mean? I had watched Parr kiss one twin or another dozens of times apiece, but this kiss seemed different. I had never before seen that look in his eyes, drowned, burned, transformed. Even though he'd hardly spoken to me since my father's horrible remark about Seth, he'd kissed me as if he meant it. I thought it must mean something. I thought it must mean he liked me. But Ashley, even if he did like me, that didn't release me from my obligation to my best friend. As long as she liked him, my hands were tied. Had Ashley noticed anything strange? Apparently not. "You were wow, Jules!" she cried, bursting through the front door after dinner. "I told you you could do it! Did your mom get Mrs. Gerard to relent? She did? Really? Too bad. I mean, crisp or even yo, of course, but too bad for you. You were so incredible as Tanya. And Ned was great, too. I don't see why he didn't want a part in the first place. He has a loudly crisp voice. I loved you in your scenes with Kevin. You were both so funny, and you were great with Parr, too. You're a natural. Next time you'll get a bigger part, no question. You just needed the practice. I bet you could even get into a biz production now, if it wasn't such a popularity contest with Michelle Jeffries and all those people." Etc. Evidently the struggle going on within me had made no impression on my friend.